All right, y'all. Welcome back to Hustle and Harmony. I am Julia.
And I'm Emily, and this is episode 8.
I can't believe we're already to episode 8.
I know. It's
That's
crazy.
Insane. What do you want to talk about today?
I think it'd be really cool if we talked about building a team around you and how we both had to navigate building teams in our careers. And obviously it's applicable to anybody in any industry, but it's another one of the things that obviously it's different between the two of us in our careers, but in the same way, you're having to choose a person for each role and build this team out. And it's been really cool to get to watch you do this over the past few years. So I'm really interested to
do this.
hear you break down the different team members that you have to build and the ones you're still in progress, and kind of what that journey has been like for you in the music industry.
I will start it out by also saying, if you're not an entrepreneur, you're not the one hiring and firing the people around you, but you still have to build your own team of people who are going to help you become who you want to be. So whether that be the network of friends around you, or finding your mentors, or finding your husband or wife, like it's all still the same game. It's all very hard. And the reason that I've realized that it kind of is actually, I equate it to dating, is because I was talking to a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago, and she was like, because obviously I went through a breakup almost a year ago now, and it took me like 6 months to kiss someone new. Or it was like 5 months, because it was New Year's, and I even had like the added help of it being a New Year's kiss, because like everyone does something that night. Yeah. So it was like very hard for me to do. And I was talking to my friend, and she said, you cannot go another 5 months and only kiss one person if you're actually trying to find what you like and don't like about dating people. And I don't think she really was talking about actually kissing. I think she just meant like going on dates and going to dinner and having conversations with people. If you're not if you're not putting yourself out there, you're not going to know what you like, what you don't like, who's interesting to you. And that's how I end up in these long 4-year relationships where I just settle, because it's like I only talk to one person every once in a while, and then I'm like, oh, this is fine. I'm pretty low maintenance, easy to please, but this will work. And then I just stay. And I'm like, okay, that's not how this is supposed to go. And when I was talking with her, I was like, but I do dates all the time for work. I'm constantly dating managers and agents and publicists and bandmates and people who are attorneys. And I'm constantly going to first time lunches and first time dinners with somebody or coffees where it's, where are you from? How'd you get your start? Like, what's your passion? Like, why would we work well together? And it is a date. Yeah. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm exhausted of talking about myself and retaining all of this knowledge in my head about someone's life. And then I feel guilty if I run into them 4 weeks later and I don't remember their kid's name or whatever. And it's hard. So when I'm constantly in that environment already building my team, it makes it harder for me to prioritize dating, because that's just another interview.
Yeah.
Really.
You just want the great guy to already know you're amazing, already know everything about you. And
just love me already.
Just pop in and be like, let me marry you and take care of you.
Yes. Is that so much to ask?
Move into my mansion and my yacht.
Again, yes. Is that so much to ask? But
yeah, building
back
your
to building my
music
team.
Industry.
Music industry aside, I will start this by trying to explain to people in a fast, as simple as I can way of what some of the different team members are in your music world. So as an artist, the typical teammates are a manager. A manager is supposed to be the spokesperson for you. They're supposed to be your voice and your connector to all other team members, all other outside world. Like, they're supposed to be kind of the blockade around you. That is not how it's ever worked in my career, but that is what it's supposed to be. Then you have an agent. An agent is different from music than if you're a sports agent or a movie agent who just does one-time deals for like your contract when you're renewing a sports contract or a movie contract. for musicians, your agent is constantly working with hundreds of people to book as many shows as you can.
Okay.
So your agent books your shows. There's also a type of agent that basically is like your brand agent, and you know about this too, but it's someone who will help you find sponsorships, endorsements. Some big agencies, like when I used to be the CIA, had an internal brand agent, but it's still better to have your own because they're going to be focused on you specifically instead of like the massive 1,000 client roster of creative artist agency. So there's agent, and then publisher is the entity that helps with songwriting. So if you're a songwriter, also an artist, or just a songwriter, you'll have a publisher who sets up co-writes for you, helps register your copyright, helps make sure you have everything registered with another team member, your PRO, Performance Rights Organization, BMI, ASCAP, CSAC, the three main ones in America. They're different all over the world. But they collect publishing royalties and distribute them to songwriters and publishers. If every song is a pie, half goes to publishing, half goes to songwriting. If you own your own publishing, you get the whole pie. So that's what a publisher and a PRO do. And then you have an attorney, and your attorney works obviously all of your contracts. Almost every one of these people I'm talking about, there's going to be some sort of deal negotiated between them or between all the brands or promoters or people that they're working with.
So we're already at 5. Manager, agent, performance rights organization, publisher, attorney.
Yes.
We're already at 5.
That's 5. Label. So if you sign with a label, I have worked with different distribution companies is what I'll call it, because that's really what a label is now. They're just a glorified distribution company. Distribution can be independent or major label. So I'm working with a company called DistroKid, but I have also worked with AWOL, 1RPM, Command Shift, STEM, Soundly, which is through the Orchard. And then the major labels would be like, the 3 majors would be Universal, Sony, Warner. And then you have a ton of other branches that still probably, even if they have their own label, like Big Loud or Big Machine, I think they still distribute through a major label, like through one of those 3.
Okay.
I believe they don't have their own, like it's a partnership, but they still own the rights and everything. But anyway, that's what a label handles, the getting your actual recording out to the world. So that's how your music gets from your computer's hard drive to Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, Deezer, YouTube, etc. That team member's number 6. And then you've got your publicist. That's number 7.
Wow.
I've gone on and off with a few different publicists, but it can be very helpful. It just has to be the right timing. You have to like have a goal for your publicist. But they're the people who are going to get artists on The Tonight Show, The Today Show, get them in People Magazine, get them in Rolling Stone. Exactly. And it's more of like not social media. It's old school media. Traditional media, for lack of a better, So that's a team member. And then a business manager handles the finances for your company. And in the music business, it's very confusing where all of your money is coming from and where it's going to. There's like 100 different revenue streams. And on top of that, if you play shows in different states,
I could not deal with this.
Every one of your shows is taxed differently. That means the merch you sell in every state is taxed differently. And you have to pay a separate, like you have to do these all individually. Yeah. So I didn't work with a business manager for a long time until it got to a point where I was like, I'm going to get audited. I'm going to be like, the IRS is going to come after me because I actually made money this year. So I need to get a business manager. Yeah. So then I started working with one.
Well, and it's a lot of work to go through and calculate all of this. And so having someone who's a specialist in it is super helpful.
And I have to pay so many people. Like the people who I'm telling you, that doesn't include videographers, guitar players, bass players, producers, mixing engineers, mastering engineers. I mean, the list, if I just go to people who are on my roster, those can all technically be team members.
Yeah.
Your producer is like, that's my ride or die.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's weird because I don't think of it as work with him, but I pay him. Like, I'm his client.
Yeah.
And
shout out Josh.
it's another team member, Josh Ronan. I was a groomswoman in his wedding. We're besties. But so yeah, what are we at now?
I have no clue.
I think we're at,
I think 8.
I think it's 8.
Yeah.
And then maybe I can put the band all as one.
Yeah.
Because you have to hire your whole band to come and play with you. And they have to do more than just play an instrument. They also have to know how to run your tracks and have to know how to make a show be cohesive and put together. It's not just learning songs.
And match your energy. Like, have
match
good
your
energy with you on stage.
There's a lot to it. So it takes a lot of work to put together a good band.
Yeah.
A lot of people have one of those, but I mean, I have had a few hired and fired.
You've tried to find one.
So yes, we'll do a social media manager.
It's a really good thing you're an extrovert.
Because I'm tired. I'm tired. And if we kept going down the list, I know, like, if I just go through and looked at actually all the people who I pay throughout the year, I would come up with some more of them.
Yeah. But those are generally like the most higher arching ones.
Yeah. And every artist that you can think of has had all 10 of these.
Yeah.
If you know their name as an artist, they have all of these current, like all the big stars, they've got all these plus more. Oh, wardrobe, stylist, and hair and makeup. So there's 2 more right there.
Yeah.
And those can, I mean, like some people have a different one. I've had different ones in different cities too. If your makeup artist is going to travel with you, but two more people who it's the same thing. You have these dates where you have to get to know each other and you have to decide if you want to work together. It's all still interview process, no matter what job they're going to do for you or how involved it is in your life. It's still an interview process and it is a date.
Yeah.
So
explain your journey, building your team, and kind of hit on the main key points of like lessons you've learned and the main key members that you're really still searching for and you feel like could make a big difference in your career.
Yes. The team members that I have right now that I'm like confident in, basically I have a producer, Josh Ronan, who he understands me. I understand him. We work super well together. And the art we're making, I believe in so much. So I'm like, there's not a part of me that's like, we need to go find someone else to help us produce our records.
You always love going to the studio with him,
It's my favorite.
Like, you look
favorite thing in the world.
Yeah.
So we're good. And then I've got my day-to-day manager. Oh, tour manager. There's another one I forgot.
Oh my gosh.
Tour manager handles everything on the road when it comes to logistics, getting your van, your bus, where's the green room, picking up the check at the venue. They handle like all of the business side of touring while you're on the road and making sure they buy everyone's flights for your band. And like, it's an important role too. So my like TM and day-to-day manager, Tiger Green, great. So we've got these 2 team members that are like, they help me run the system that I have right now that I have broken down to the bones. Like I had
a big transition year.
I have had all of those team members that I just named. I've had them all. And I guess distribution, I'm with DistroKid. So I'm with them right now too. But of the rest of those team members, I recently walked away from management. I was with Garth Brooks's management team. I recently walked away from CAA, Creative Artists Agency, one of the biggest agents in the world, the biggest agency in the world. I walked away from the business manager that I was with previously, but on like great terms. He was just doing such a great job that one of the artists asked him to full-time manage him.
Cool.
So he like left the business management company.
Not cool for you, but cool for him.
He's actually, I'm having like coffee with him tomorrow. I'm super excited about it. And then attorney had been someone who I was kind of working with through that business manager. So I kind of needed to find a new attorney because I wasn't working through him anymore. So just had my first coffee meeting with this girl that I think I really like. Cool. She's great. We'll see. And then that's the phase I'm in right now, is I have a lot of people on my like plate that they're great. We'll see.
Yeah.
Cause it takes like being in the trenches and going through some time before all of these people have a chance to really exercise what they've learned how to do and prove what they're good at.
Yeah, I feel like one of the bigger important things to mention too is for anyone trying to build a team, it's something that some people know starting out, but I feel like a lot of people don't. And it's how much these people affect your energy, because you're going to be having to work with them, because you're going to be working with them on a day-to-day basis. They need to be matching your energy and generally like positive influence to be around and not draining your energy all the time. And it's really cool, like as we've both progressed in our careers, seeing the value in people that are on the same page as you and don't drain your energy like that. And I think that's something that you're definitely looking for in this next phase of building a new team, this next phase of your career, which is cool.
It's also such a personal industry. It's a very naked piece of art that you're marketing. And if someone doesn't understand who you are and understand your voicing and your messaging,
So true.
I mean, it can be like devastating the way that people will think about your art and talk about your art if they just don't understand what your goals are and who you are. And
you don't know who they're speaking to as the representative of your art and the conversations that are having that you're not present for.
Yeah.
And you need to make sure that you trust them to accurately represent what you want to be portrayed by your brand.
Yeah. And if this song is about calling off your engagement and you've been sobbing for months, like thinking about it, like you need someone who's not only going to be like, you need to be online making videos about what, like, you need someone who's going to be like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Like, are you sure it's the right time for us to put this out? Like, and that's why it's different in this business than just hiring and firing someone who's got a skill set in sales or in whatever. It's a very personal industry. And I feel like this will be one of the fun, hot moments to say, but we talked about pivotal moments in the last episode. Last year, I left my fiance, left my manager, left my agent, left my business manager, left my attorney, and had band members quit because they didn't want to be on the road anymore. And I was just like alone. And it all happened. A lot of it was my choice to walk away, but some of it was like just happened at the same time.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I guess now's as good a time as any to build it back from the ground up. And
I think it's also really cool because it's so representative of this new chapter in your life and this fresh start that you're getting in every sense of the way.
It's nice to be able to be talking with people from where my 2 feet are in my career now versus trying to make it work with people who joined my team when I had nothing going on. Yeah. It's almost like I'm in a different league now, a different caliber of conversations that I'm having, but it also makes it a lot slimmer of pickings. Like it is hard to find people who aren't already, if you're a really great manager, the way you have probably proven that is by taking an artist to the top, and you're probably really busy with said artist who's at the top. Like and I know how much work it takes just for me. And I'm friends with people who manage like all the people, and I'm friends with the artists. Like I know how much time it takes when you're playing stadiums, winning CMA awards, like doing all that stuff. These managers might want to build their roster and bring more people on, but what ends up happening is they hire more day-to-day managers and you don't actually get their time because they're busy on the road with Lainey Wilson, with Luke Combs, but they're busy and they should be. They don't fix what ain't broke. Like you're doing something that needs managing.
I think what's cool, what you're saying though, is the point of you now have a much better, more explicit idea of the type of person you want to bring on. And because of that, it's going to be harder to find that person, but it's worth the wait because you know the characteristics and the traits that you are non-negotiable, that you have as
100%.
non-negotiables whenever you're looking for this new person.
It is so funny how like you say that and the first thing my head goes to is like Grammar.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
If you are writing
This is the grammar
emails
Nazi.
to represent me,
Yeah, it's valid.
and I'm not saying that the people reading the emails even care, but it's not representative of who I am. If you don't know the difference between your
And there and there.
there and there, or two and two
Yeah.
and two.
It's something that is very important to us. And
I don't know why, but for me, it's associated not so much with a lack of knowledge as much as it is with a lack of attention to detail.
and care, yeah.
That's more of what it
Rereading
feels
the
like to me.
email,
Did
yeah.
you literally run it through spell check? And I know sometimes some of those words are based on like the context, but yeah, read it.
But these are also, I mean, you're also talking about like big important emails
Really
too.
important, life-changing things that
you've
could
had
be.
been like sent too with typos in them, and showed me and been like, Emily, is it okay that I'm like upset about this basically? And I'm
Yeah.
like, Julia, you're so valid in being upset about this. Like that's
Yeah.
not okay.
And I'm trying to be kind. Like, I don't want to bully somebody about it, but then I'm like, I hired you to handle these emails, and there
Yeah.
is a standard that I
Yeah.
need them to be handled at. So it's wild, the things that it doesn't seem like a big deal, but after I've gone through, different team members and realized how important it is,
Yeah.
I'm like, man, that just made my pool so small.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't care about that.
Yeah.
But like attention to detail, even with social media stuff, that's actually why I've hired and fired so many of the social media people, because they don't care about the caption.
Well, and a lot of what I've realized too is the amount of work it takes to like run a good social media channel.
Yeah.
A lot of people who are good at it
Run
are
their
smart
own.
and are like, why would I not just run this for myself?
Yeah.
And so it's hard to find someone who's really great at it and also is being willing to be hired to do it for someone else, because it takes so much time. And I mean, the little things like posting on Instagram and all of the colors completely changing that we were talking about the other day, and just things not posting correctly and having to repost it 3 separate times, the intricacies that people don't fully understand unless they've really tried to run a social media channel professionally. It's a hard thing. And
it's different for every different like genre of social media. So for you, your editing is much more influencer style of editing. For me, there are a lot of tips and tricks for musicians specifically. Like some of the things that you'll learn being a social media musician, if you don't create videos over the same audio, then you lose any virality that audio's traction was already gaining.
Because they would each be a separate quote audio, and not
Exactly.
the views and the new videos aren't added together in the same audio.
Yes. And there's a way to, if a song's not released yet and you want to create an audio, there's a way to do like a screen recording of whatever, the Dropbox folder or something, wherever you have the audio saved. Do the screen recording, upload it as a video to private, and then save that audio with the correct title, and then use that audio to then make all of your videos, and then they'll all be on the same audio. But there's just like, there's little tips and tricks that you only get hanging around. Like, I've learned most all of my music tips and tricks from all my music friends who are also on TikTok and Instagram. We're all doing the same thing, and we all have the same issues. So we're all working around, how do we get this to look more like this? And how come this one didn't work, but this one does? And I mean, it's different every single platform. Like some platforms won't let you put, once a song is released and there's copyright on the music, you can't post over a minute of it. But you can't monetize videos that are under a minute. So like there's just so many things that you're like constantly trying to navigate as a musician specifically. That if you're working with someone who just like is a general social media consultant and they work with toothpaste and also, you know, barbecue sauce and also
it's just not the same.
a soccer player, and then they're trying to do the music account, I'm like, there are just things that I know that you can't know without having put the time in. Which is frustrating because there's also an element of like, you can't do everything. And that's why this like team member conversation is happening, because we've both realized You can only keep so many plates spinning by yourself.
Yeah.
And Gary Vee, if y'all know who Gary Vee is, he's like an incredible entrepreneur. And I think obviously he had a lot of success in business first, but now what he's most well known for is being basically like a consultant for the world on like how to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, like inspirational speaker.
Motivational speaker, but specifically on like entrepreneurship and chasing your dreams. So one of the things that he talked about was hire fast and fire fast. And I've tried to take that to heart because I get very attached to people and I'm very loyal. So it takes me a really long time to walk away in relationships also. Like it all ties in. But hire fast means if you've realized that this is something that someone else could do for you, then you need to at least try to find someone. Don't expect them to do it at 100% capacity that you would do it. That's just not realistic. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But if you can hire people who are going to do everything to at least 70 to 80% capacity of what you were going to do, that's going to free you up to spend your time doing the things that truly only you can do.
Yeah.
For me, no one else can go on stage and sing a live show.
Yeah.
It has to be me. No one else can go and do a TikTok live. It has to be me. No one else can make the videos.
Yeah.
It still has to be my face and my voice.
And you have to conserve your energy
Write
enough
my songs
to be able to do that well enough to the way that you want to.
Yes. So at the end of the day, yes, I know how to like go on and run ads on Facebook ads, but I need to hire someone else to do that.
Yeah.
So there's like a million different little pieces of the career where it's, all right, get someone to take some of this load off and figure out where you're able to have a little slack.
Yeah.
But don't let it be something that takes away from your main monetization. And that's why I took social media back. It's because this is my main connection, whatever, sales. It's my main connection to fans to know what my songs are.
Yeah.
So if this is the most important piece of connecting the art to the person, I'm not going to give that piece away. I'd rather give away booking the shows. So I hired an agent, and this new agent is like getting me booked all over the place. You know how many conversations I'm not having to have because he's talking with the promoter and the promoter's talking with the venue, and they're figuring out all of that, and the tour manager's working with them to figure out the routing and get the van and the hotels and get the flights. I mean, I used to do all of that.
I know.
And I'm like, having done it makes me so much more thankful to not do it. But now we can like talk about how cool it's been watching you have to start building your team, because everyone in the music industry knows you have to build this team. It's every movie you've ever seen about a famous musician, they've got their entourage and they've got all these people doing all the things. But like neither one of us knew anything about pro track. And even about really collegiate track until you got into it. And now all of your team members are so fascinating.
Yeah. It's been a really interesting journey, I think, especially because one of my good friends is super amazing. He's the youngest person ever to be on like the Spotify's top charts for podcasts.
That's cool.
It's for his podcast is called The Running Effect. His name's Dominique Schluter, and he actually is one of the bigger reasons why I knew doing this podcast would be a great idea for us. But one of the quotes that he puts inspirational quotes on his story all the time for social media, and one of the ones he puts on there often is, "Don't be the best, be the only." And I love that because it just really focuses on leaning into what makes you unique, which is the best way to be successful. And
oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's also really cool because it's a hard thing to do. In society, it's so easy to be like, oh, all these people are, super successful or famous at doing this, so I need to do this like them.
Yeah.
When really it's because they leaned into what made them unique. Mm-hmm. And it's been hard for me to do that because I've felt very torn over the past few years between my social media self and my track runner self. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about it, trying to understand why it affected me so much. And I think it's because, one, my identity has never really been in running, which is very unlike most athletes that are competing.
Your outwardly perceived identity
is running now.
No. What you're saying is like people didn't view you as a runner on social media, but in your own head, you were a runner. So like when you're saying your identity, you weren't?
What I'm saying is like I didn't grow up being like my identity is a runner.
Okay.
I grew up being like my identity is in academics and volleyball and basketball and running, but also my family, and just it wasn't
doing
like
everything.
Yeah, it wasn't like from 7th grade running was my life. And then I got to college and I was around all these kids who had run seriously for a very long time. And it was this battle between being appreciative that running was not my main identity.
Because you're not burnt out.
Because I'm not burnt out. And also kind of feeling imposter syndrome like anyone else does. Because I was like, oh, all these people have so much more knowledge about their pre-race fuel and their race day nerves and how to navigate because I didn't run it at a high level until my senior year of high school. And I think that was something that helped me on social media, because I didn't feel like every single post needed to be, oh, I just ran this super intense workout and I'm a super serious person. And also I had you and Kristen from day one being like, Emily, it's so cool that you just ran 5 miles, literally just 5 miles at whatever slow pace you ran it. Like, that's cool, because running is hard, and y'all helped me appreciate the little things. And I think that helped me so much on social media too, in combination with the fact that I never thought I'd be a collegiate athlete. So I appreciated all the little things so much. And I wasn't embarrassed to be appreciative of them and to share about how cool I thought the dining hall was for athletes and whatever, because a lot of athletes that grew up like, oh, I'm definitely going to be a college athlete. And then you get there and you're like, oh, well, of course I have this. I've worked my whole life to be a badass athlete and I deserve. And I was just like, everything here is so cool, you know? And
we definitely need to go more on you building your team, but on what you're saying, the hardest part, I think, for both of us in the social media navigation is that we have 2 separate audiences. We have the audience of the millions of people, the masses, and then we have the audience of our peers and our idols who we want to work with, we want to collaborate with. You want to learn from these incredible runners who are Olympians and these incredible coaches, and you want their respect. I want to collaborate with all of the artists that I know here in town, but like are on a different level when it comes to they've won Grammys, they've won CMT awards, ACM awards, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So the messaging is very different that you would say to that group versus what you would say to the masses, because like you were saying, Kristen and I showed you that it's like, it's really cool that you ran. I mean, you would come home and just be like, what? I just did 8 miles. It's not a big deal. And you're like, 8 miles is like not that casual. You're acting like it's super normal.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, I opened for Waka Flocka last weekend, or I was hanging out with Jelly Roll backstage at the Opry last week, or whatever the thing is. And to me, and when I'm talking with anyone in the music industry, it is normal, and you don't get to sound crazy excited about it, because it's like you're not cool. If you think that's not normal, it means you don't get to do it often enough, and that means you're not cool.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't, and I have to think very hard about what I say
and how you say
and
it.
how I say it, because they are all watching my social media too. Like if you go look at who's liking and commenting on stuff, I can't just go out there and give my hot take on my opinion of every person in the music industry.
Well,
whereas social media would think it was awesome.
Yeah.
But I can't do that, because I have an industry and a career to run, and I know it's the same for you with running.
Well, yeah, and I think it all obviously goes back down to your values too. Like, what are your values, and how do you make sure that all of the content you put out is representative of those values? And building your team, it's important that you bring on team members that have those same values and that respect your values. And I think that for me, it was not something I had to think about going into college, because your whole team is built around you. Like you've already got coaches, you've literally got team members, you've got your sports psychologists, you've got photographers, you've got your strength coaches, and it's
nutritionists too, right?
Nutritionists, registered dietitians. And I think that the first big team member that I had to bring on was definitely my agent for social media. And that happened when I won this TikTok contest. And I met
We've talked about
Michael
him
Raymond
on the podcast,
through doing that, and just immediately hit it off, and worked with Raymond Rep ever since. And they've been really awesome. But it goes back to having those conversations for you and saving me so much time not having to go back and forth with the brand a bunch. And they've completely helped me be able to build my social media because I didn't have to navigate those conversations. And it is very interesting how completely new the whole world of NIL is. So I'll speak to people who are quote unquote experts in the industry, and they're just asking me so many questions, just trying to understand what it was like going through it when the law first came out and being one of the first athletes to experience it.
It's crazy.
Because I basically did everything on my own. And I mean, Duke didn't really understand how to do it. So that's something that they're building out teams now. But while I was there, I did everything on my own for it.
So do you have another team member now for that?
For social media? No, I mean, the Raymond representation.
So the team members you're talking about, but didn't you say like Duke has hired someone to be an NIL team member now? Obviously you're not at Duke anymore, but like they hired someone to work with your school.
Like head of NIL and help the school navigate
But that's
it.
a new team member that didn't exist prior, right?
For them, not for me.
Because they just started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's also not for the athletes. It's for the athletics department, like helping them. I mean, there's a whole bunch going on with NIL. That could be a whole other thing with they have to back pay athletes and whatnot. But anyways, now that I'm transitioning to running post-collegiately, I'm having to build out a whole new team around me. And I was speaking with one of my mentors recently, and he was talking about how you have to, I was getting a little bit nervous speaking to these incredible professional running coaches, and not nervous speaking to them, but not reaching out because I'm worried about making sure I ask the right questions, making sure that I do all my research and everything beforehand, and being a little bit too perfectionist about it. And he helped me reframe and being like, Emily, you're hiring them. And it's more so just a conversation about, you know, how do they work? How could you help each other? And whenever you reframe it in that way, it makes it so much easier to have those conversations because you're just focused on building your team around you. And someone who I definitely look up to, her name's Maddie Price, and she graduated from Duke and has now gone on to run professionally, runs amazing. She's qualified for her second Olympics now, is competing for Canada.
Wow.
And he was telling me about how she's built a whole team around her. And so every single role, whether it's my lift coach, my running coach, my sports psychologist, my, massage therapist, all these people are going to be new team members that I have to build around me.
I'm going to add that to my team member list.
Massage. Would highly recommend.
Hiring now.
I don't have one yet, but we can search together.
Yeah.
But I have to figure out what city I'm in first.
Yeah.
So I'm in the process of having all of those conversations right now.
She's being courted.
I'm doing a lot of networking. And it's really interesting.
It's dating, is it not?
It's totally dating, for sure. But whenever you have the space and time to do it well, it's really cool because you get to meet such interesting people and you're talking to them about the thing they're most passionate about in the world. So I am loving going through this process, and it's also freeing knowing that I don't have to make a decision immediately.
Yeah.
It's a long-term approach and a long-term vision that I'm working towards. So I don't have any answers about my new team, but I'm in the process of trying to figure that out.
Damn, we are both in the same exact crazy spot right now.
Yeah.
Which is why this is so fun that you're just in Nashville for a couple of months. And we're just
I'm in the interim, I'm just gonna come live with you.
And every time we have a new date with another team member, we can come back and just be like, here's the rundown.
Tell me
here's
everything.
What happened. And it's so funny how having someone who you can talk through everything with really does help you process your own thoughts. And you'll start to realize, because I even was just talking to you about some dates that I've been going on, actual date dates. And you were like, every time you talk to me about this person, you sound like you're trying to convince
yourself. Yeah.
And I convince yourself that you're supposed to marry this person.
Yeah.
And it's why are you trying so hard to convince yourself? Just
don't
go
force
with the
anything.
flow.
Yeah. Just
quit trying to force something. And I was like, you're so right. Why am I like this?
It is crazy how talking to someone else about it, even if they don't say anything, can help you process through it and understand yourself and your thoughts on it so much more.
And you realize what are the pieces you really remember, what really stood out to you.
Yeah.
And you started talking about your mentor a second ago, and it made me remember something I've talked to you about, but I have had the hardest time finding a mentor because in the music industry, like, let's say I want it to be someone who is doing my dream job, someone who's like, if I wanted to be the CEO of whatever, a sports agency, I would like try to get coffee with the CEO of a sports agency and just like pick their brain for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
The people who have done what I want to do are, I can probably count on one hand.
Yeah.
To be a female country musician who has number ones at radio and has won, significant awards. But here's the kicker, who's not divorced. And this is like it's not a mandatory, but it makes it even smaller, and has kids.
Yeah.
To be married and have kids and be a female musician that has had success, like big time success, I would love to sit there and have a conversation with them about how did you navigate being in an industry where everyone's a man and having your husband feel comfortable with you constantly being on the road with all men, you constantly being, on the phone late night with your male manager or whoever it is. And
in an industry where people can definitely like sexualize you too.
And where there's a lot of alcohol involved. It's not like a lot of industries have that, but again, the rock and roll, like it's part of the thing. I'm like, how did you find a man who was secure enough to handle it? How did you know when that happened? What were the things you did to help them feel better about it? And it's so funny that like these are some of the biggest and first questions I would ask some of these women.
Yeah.
When then I would also be like, I need to know all of your music industry advice. Like that's the no-brainer. But it's that the piece of them just like not being divorced and having kids. I mean, it breaks it down to like Carrie Underwood, Martina McBride, Dolly Parton doesn't have kids, but she's at least been married to the same person. I mean, I can't think of another one. I know I'm missing somebody.
Yeah, I'm sure there are more, but
there have to be more. But I can name 15 that aren't are like big name stars, and
it's difficult. I mean, not even being a country music artist, it's difficult to
have a
long
successful marriage.
Relationship.
Yeah, and it's really no shade
kids.
because I obviously just called off an engagement, so I was one step away from being there, and I'm just like, how do I find?
You now know how important it is.
I know, and how insecure a man can feel around a successful female.
Yeah.
But that it's clearly possible to find one that isn't.
Yeah.
And I just like would love a mentor on that. And then obviously any of the females who are successful in country music could give me the advice on how do you navigate being in this industry as a woman and as someone who wants to maintain your own morals and your own identity, but you also want to fit into what's working in the mold. And I loved your quote earlier though about like, don't try to be the best, try to be the only. Like it's not a comparison. I don't need to be the best country music singer in the world. I need to be the only one that connected with people for a certain reason. Mm-hmm. And that's a very cool angle to think of it.
You're talking about mentors.
Yes.
I know you have one really special mentor close to your heart. And we didn't get to this pivotal moment in our last episode. So I wanted you to get to share about her because she's so special.
We can dive more into that on another episode so I can give Laurie White the full like story that she deserves. But Laurie White was my first publisher and producer in town, and her husband Chuck Cannon's who introduced us. So they both kind of published me, but she produced me. And we spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours in the studio. She taught me everything, taught me how to cut records, taught me what a mixing engineer was, mastering engineer. So I'll give Laurie White her full explanation on another podcast, but she is the only mentor I've had where I felt like I just wish I knew when she was still alive how special of a person.
Yeah.
And I knew she was special, but I would have asked her so many more questions about these specific things. But I was too young to know that I didn't know most of this. Yeah. And I was still learning so much else. Like, I'm sure she taught me more in that time than I could have possibly imagined. but I had a breakdown when I went to a Change the Conversation Q&A thing that Martina McBride was speaking at. And I realized Martina would be perfect for me to ask all these questions to. Like, she's done everything I want to do. And she pulled out her journal, her diary, and she started reading journal entries from like her first time recording in the studio. And it was like, she was nervous. And I'm like, this icon didn't know if her record was going to sound okay in the studio that day. And I'm just like, I wish I could read her whole diary. And I cried after that because I just was like, dang, I had Laurie and now I don't anymore. She passed away of cancer, and it happened very suddenly in 2018, which was the year Emily was sick, which in our last episode, we talked about how that year had a lot of moments in it for me that were just like eye-opening and life-changing. And the health side of it was the biggest because of Laurie and because of you.
It was very eye-opening to how precious life is.
It was eye-opening for that reason, but it took me a while to find the point in life again. Because I was like, there's two ways to look at it. It's life is so short and you have to do everything you possibly can. But when I was still just super depressed, it was Laurie did everything right. She was so kind. She was so talented. She worked so hard. She was really vibrant. Healthy. She ate super healthily, organically. She worked out, was in shape. And she still got cancer and died at 52. I was like, there is no point in working hard. There's no point in eating healthy. There's no point in anything because whatever you do, it doesn't matter. And like, that's a super unhealthy way to think. And I was depressed for a long time. And then,
which was really hard for us as a family to see too, because you're one of the most happy, bubbly, smiley people ever. And so it was a very big change.
It was eye-opening for sure. That entire year was. But back on the mentor thing, since then, since 2018, I have not had. I've had lots of people give me advice and a lot of amazing help. But not a female artist in country music who has done almost everything I want to do.
It's hard to find. And I think if you're listening to this and you have a really special mentor to you, it's just proof of, first of all, how lucky you are. And second of all, just appreciate them and be so grateful for them and ask them all the questions that you have. I remember getting asked in my exit interview for Duke, who's been the most influential person to you in your career here? You know, someone who's like supported you through everything that you've really depended on.
Right.
And that's the only question essentially like ever in my life. I could not think of an answer.
Wow.
And not that there haven't been great people, but I had a lot of coaching changes too. And so out of no one's fault, it was just, there wasn't someone who was with me the whole time. By the time I graduated, the only staff member that had been there my whole career was my lift coach.
No way.
And I was really stumped on that question. I was like, I'm sorry. And there's one amazing human named Lindsay Hughes who's definitely kind of taken me in to be like her daughter. And that was more like
she's not track.
She's not related to track or school.
She's like life mentor.
Yeah, I took her class my last semester of school, but she was mainly, I got to know her because she was Kristen's teacher first.
She's supposed to be setting me up on a few dates. What's going on
I know.
She's slacking.
I need to text her.
Yeah.
She's too busy traveling the world right now too.
Yeah, she's slacking.
But she was actually who I ended up saying, and she's, you know, she's in the economics department. Her class is on hedge funds. And I was like, she's been the person who's really mentored me and taken me under her wing the most. But it was weird for me to have kind of a similar feeling. But I know we need to do book club and Q&A.
Yes.
I have one last question for you.
Okay.
You have a new song coming out that you want to talk about. Since we're talking about building a team, can you tell us about that song and then about like how your team members help you get it out and spread it, like how that works?
Okay. So the new song,
I don't even know the
backstory. Yeah, I'll start with the backstory a little bit, and I'll play it for you in the car because I don't think you've even heard it yet. But shortly after my called off engagement, I was at an event for CMT. We walked the red carpet. We were all dressed to the nines. I was with some girls, and then we were like, let's go out after because we look cute, and it's Nashville. So we end up at Red Door, which is just this like hole in the wall bar that's been here since the beginning of time, and it's like a local spot, but we are obviously mega overdressed, but it's kind of fun sometimes.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I'm in
yeah.
like a gown or whatever, and we're at Red Door all sitting at this table together, all dressed up. And we're hanging out, having our fun time. And this is, again, shortly after the called off engagement. And my friend Kaylee comes up to me and she's like, we should probably go. We should leave. And I'm like, why? We just got drinks. Like, we're having a great time. What do you mean?
Oh,
and she's like, your ex is walking in the front door, like right now. And she's like, I tried to get him to go to any of the 15 bars on this street, but he is determined to come into this bar. Probably even more so now that I told him that you were here, but I was just like trying to get him to like not come in here. It didn't work. And so this is funny. It really does have to do with my team. I had a couple of folks from my team there, and you would have thought I was like Whitney Houston with the bodyguard getting like snuck out of somewhere, because they were like smuggling me around this back corner because they didn't want me to have to make eye contact with him. And I saw him out of the corner of my eye, but I didn't make eye contact, and I just like snuck out of the bar basically. Yeah. And Kaylee later told me that the conversation she had with him at the door was like, can't you go anywhere else? Like, there are so many bars on this street. We're trying to celebrate this CMT red carpet fun night. Like, can you just not ruin this one moment? And he looks at her after all the things he did, there being another girl, there being all the issues you know about. He looked at her and said, I don't owe her anything.
Damn.
And I was just like, I was devastated because I was still trying to protect him at this point. Like, I wasn't putting certain songs out because I didn't want to hurt his image. I wanted his family to not know.
I haven't heard this. I didn't know that.
Yes. Like, and that night was a major change in my brain of, you don't have to protect him anymore. He does not care about you. He has hurt you over and over and over again. And he should not be the reason that your songs don't get to go help people who are going through tough situations because you're trying to protect him. So you can put these songs out. So that's where a lot of the songs that have come out this year wouldn't have if that night and that moment hadn't happened, because it changed a spot in my brain.
It's another God moment. Another everything happens for a reason.
Everything happens for a reason. And
so
the song that's coming out now is actually based on like the paranoia of thinking I'm going to see him at a bar.
Oh, okay.
And
oh my God, so many people are going to be able to relate to that.
Yeah, because if you live in a small town, and people don't like to think of Nashville as a small town, but if you hang out in the same crews, like, y'all are all going to the same bars. And I have purposefully avoided all of my favorite like places and all the places I used to go to for a year now, because I know where he's going to be. Yeah. Like, the odds are he's at one of three places. I will not be caught dead in like those places. Yeah. So this song, I can't wait to show it to you, because it's definitely
it sounds so good.
It like makes my heart speed up even just like thinking about the lyric, because that's how the song is like supposed to feel, because that's what happens when you're just like panicking. You like want to go hide in the bathroom, fake a phone call, like just get out of the room somehow because you think it's him. Yeah, it's called He Was You, so hope y'all like it.
So good.
Yes. Book club Q&A.
Let's do it.
It's time. My book club for this week, I mentioned it last week because we still haven't had time to talk about our European travels. It'll have to be on another podcast episode. But I had about 40 hours of travel, so I went through both of the first and second Harry Potter books. So this book club will be Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. And it's fun to listen to not only J.K. Rowling grow up in the writing just a little bit piece by piece, because I'm obviously now on book 3, but like each one you can hear she ages with the characters in such a great way, and it's fun to listen to them like not care at all about love and the other like male or females in the story, and then slowly but surely she starts to like bring in little love interest or like little crushes on teachers and little things that I'm like, this is done so elegantly of their aging.
Also, I bet you recognize so many more things reading and now being older. Yeah. Like, I read them when I was around 5th grade. Yeah. And through middle school. So I'm sure that I'm going to really enjoy going back and rereading them, because I'm going to notice so many more things.
I don't know why growing up I was trying so hard to not like have the same exact identity as my oldest sister, Kristen.
Yeah.
Because we really did. I mean, even she and I are even closer in age. We had the same exact teachers, same exact coaches, played the same exact position in every sport almost. I mean, it was so similar.
A lot of siblings are like that though.
Totally.
They want to be different.
So her thing was Harry Potter, so I just never read them.
Yeah.
And so this is my first time doing the Harry Potter like
it's really
series.
cute to see you like reading them.
It's really fun, and my band is like loving it's so funny. We have to keep telling Tiger not to spoil it for me because he just gets so excited about talking about
That's
it.
funny.
And Alejandro will just look at him and be like, Tiger, shut up.
You know what this is like? You reading Harry Potter for the first time, which is such an iconic series, is like me watching Friends for the first time.
I watched that very late too, though.
It's like every time you talk about it, you kind of can't talk about it because everyone around you knows everything that happens.
You finished
like,
Friends?
So well. No, I'm on season 3.
Oh, okay. Then I still can't talk about it.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Because I definitely finished Friends already.
Yeah.
Book club, you.
So my book for this week is actually Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday. And it was very appropriate, actually. It was like on the beach in Greece and Cyprus with my roommates. He's got a bunch of great books. The Obstacle is the Way. The Ego is the Enemy. Stillness is the Key. Yeah, I mean, like...
It sounds like he's a
mic
stoic.
drops. Yeah.
Like, did you talk about stoicism in those?
Yes.
Okay, I was about to say, this all sounds like...
So I'm definitely going to read all his other books too. But this book, I mean, I was flying through it. I haven't flown through a book like that in a while.
You've read multiple of those? Or
No.
one?
I'm talking about Stillness is the Key, and I haven't even finished it, but I'm about halfway through, and I was reading it, and it's all about how the most beautiful pieces of art and the best work are all created after like long periods of self-reflection, and you have to have a lot of time. The way he specified it was without voices. And so there are so many like big time CEOs and successful entrepreneurs who have these different passions, and they were like super long bike rides, super long trail runs, you know, some people surfing, just activities. And the consistent theme with all of them was the absence of voices. And he talks about
Can
stillness.
they listen to music?
Yes, but the music like without voices. It allows your brain to, it's almost like a less intense version of meditation because you're able to just go through all the thoughts that are just going to be flowing through your head anyways.
Yeah.
And I realized how much that has benefited me because I've had so much alone time. You know, I've not been in serious relationships. I've joined a sport that's very solo. You have a lot of long runs to yourself, and it gives me a lot of times to really reflect and just think. And a lot of people are like, what do you even think about while you're running?
I'm like, everything.
Literally. It's like it's so cathartic and refreshing and meditative when you get to do a run on your own. And obviously running with people is so fun too. But reading this book, he talks all about different versions of stillness. And, you know, people have like Buddhism, how religion over time, it really reflects this act that is prayer, which is reflecting on the things that you're wanting, the things that you're grateful for, thinking about other people in your life, praying for them, and just that time where you sit alone with yourself and with God too, in my case.
Yeah.
And the value of having this time alone. And it's perfect for this phase of my life too, because I've just been going for the past 5 years, being a student athlete, also trying to do social media, writing my book, majoring in computer science. And I'm just like, I need to really take a deep breath and process what I've been through, figure out what my next steps are, figure out what I really want out of this next chapter in my life. And so the book is very applicable to my phase right now. And I loved it. I'm absolutely blowing through it. And I'm excited to read the rest of his books too.
I love that. And I'm for sure going to read that. That sounds like something I definitely need. There's very little peace and quiet in my career. Yeah. And especially when I'm on tour, I'm like never alone. And the only alone time I have is when I get back to my hotel room. And usually it's midnight and we have a bus call at 5 a.m. or something. So it's like you don't have time to sit and reflect. You're just like, please fall asleep as fast as possible. Yeah. And you wake up with just enough time to pack and get back out the door. And it's like when I get home from a run, I'm like don't talk to me, anybody.
Yeah.
I don't want to even FaceTime anyone.
Yeah.
I just want to sit on my couch.
When you get home from being on tour. Yeah.
Yeah.
From a run sounded like a run, which is what I do.
Oh, sorry. We call it a run, like if you're on the road for multiple days. But yeah, it's definitely something that I will have to actively practice. And I think I've told you a little bit about how I'm trying to do it more when I'm on the actual road instead of just like constantly being in communication with everyone. Because everyone's fun and we have a good time. We want to talk. But my voice will be tired from talking for the entire 6-hour drive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, girl, you have to sing tonight and then do a meet and greet for an hour and a half. Like, stop talking all day.
Exactly.
And so the audiobooks are good for me, or reading an actual book, because sometimes people leave me alone a little bit more if I'm just holding a book even.
Well, and that's also a version of being able to turn your brain off too, and like let the book read to you.
There are voices though. So
there
it's
are
not
voices.
quite the same.
It's not the same. But I also think it's a
step.
It totally ties into this whole negative trend that society has with mental health issues and anxiety, because this is the Opal app has been great for us, because every single free second of our day, people open up social media and it's just information. And those little breaks when you're waiting in line, when you're, walking to class, like those are your recharge, like peace moments. And we've gotten to a place where everyone fills all of their moments with more social media and voices, and you don't have that same time to relax.
I think I might be like one of the only weird people who has these like psycho behavior of driving in silence.
No, you're not. I do that all the time.
I drive with nothing on all the time. And then like, obviously right now I'm obsessed with Harry Potter. So I've been listening to the podcast or the audiobook while I've been driving. But this is like a new, like when I finish my series, it's not like I'm going to dive back into always having audiobooks on, because I enjoy the peace and quiet.
Well, yeah, because like we're saying,
driving.
You have so many voices literally all day. That is your peace and quiet.
You're singing all day.
Yeah.
Everyone's coming up with ideas. Like,
it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
I
love that
too.
book. I can't wait to read it.
And one of the chapters is actually focused on journaling too. And just how important it is to journal. And literally it talks about Anne Frank and how she used her journal to journal about the really hard things and emotions she was having to go through, so that she wouldn't feel the need to unload that and talk about it to the people around her who were going through the same thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to help at all to speak about it out loud.
Yeah.
And so she kind of used it as a way to process. And one of the really good quotes, it's the last thing I'll say about it, in the book, was that the journal is not for the reader, it's for the writer. So it talks about even JFK, like some of his journals, it's like one word repeated over and over and over again. Or just like doodling, like manifesting things that you want to happen. Whatever it is that you need in that moment.
That's really
it's a way to, and it's actually, I have had a hard time praying out loud. I'm trying to get more into prayer and like more in tune with my faith. And it's easier for me to journal my prayer.
Interesting.
And I was actually talking to Kristen about it, and she was saying that she's found a new way that makes it easier for her to journal with like less pressure is by writing letters to people, because it's easier to talk about your problems when I'm talking to you than being like, okay, how am I going to journal about this? I need to do it perfectly.
I knew her text in our like Honest group text. I know that's her journal.
Yeah.
And I've already thought about, I don't think she listens to our podcast, so I'm just going to say it on here. No, I'm going to tell you after, just in case she listens to this episode. But I have an idea for it, and it'll be fun. And then I'm going to give one shout out, just because like I've thought about you so many times during this episode, but my best friend, Emmy Boltemeyer, the two things I'll say. One, she just gave me a journal. It's called One Line a Day. And I think we talked about this on the last podcast, right? Or not today, but
another one,
a different one. I don't know. Anyway, this One Line a Day journal, it has 5 slots on it. And you can put the year in each slot. So it'll say like, July 28th at the top. And then it'll say 20. And then you put 24 next to it. And you write it's really like 5 lines. So you can just put what's happening that day. And then
like
next
a
year,
sentence or two.
a sentence or two. And then next year on July 28th, you'll directly above it have what happened exactly a year ago on July 28th.
It's a really cool journal.
So Emmy gave me that journal, and I have been like, I haven't missed a day. Like I am on it, and I'm so excited to have something. It made it easier for me because it's like, you don't need to write for 30 minutes. You can literally be super exhausted and still write down, so exhausted today. I had blah, 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 blah. But so cool. You know, I flew from Lisbon, Portugal to wherever.
Because journaling can be overwhelming. It's like I have so many things I want to journal about. I'm perfectionist about it. And then I'm just like, I don't want to do it.
I'm like not capable also of writing it only for the writer. My brain will not turn off that like one day someone might read this, especially when you start talking about Anne Frank. Okay, everyone in the world's read her diary.
I know.
So there's just part of my brain that can't be like,
oh, I'm the
this
same
isn't
way,
for the
because
reader
you're putting it down on paper. There is a possibility of someone reading it in the future.
Yes.
I even think about myself reading it in the future.
And then before our Q&A real quick, Emmy also listened to the Harry Potter audiobook in Spanish the entire time we were climbing Mount Kilimanjaro.
That is so
we would like
sick.
fall asleep in the tent up on this mountain in the snow, and she would be listening to Harry Potter audiobook in Spanish. So like I can't be listening to these audiobooks and not be thinking about her.
She also listens to all of our episodes and texts us after
we know
all
she's
of
gonna
them.
hear this. We love you.
She's so cute. She was like, guys, you have 22 5-star reviews, and I wish they could have all been me because they would have all been me, but those are actual other people.
She's perpetually my momager, and she has been since Vanderbilt. Like I'm obsessed with her.
Because she was your roommate all 4
She
years.
made my first EBK video, like recorded it for me. She would come to all my shows.
I remember, wasn't she recording at Rodeo Rockstar too?
Yes, Vanderbilt volleyball. We had a momager shirt made for her. She wasn't on the team. She was the only person that had the custom shirt made that said momager on the back. It was so fun. Okay. Hustle and Harmony Q&A. Emily Cole, what's your favorite thing you guys did together as kids growing up that you just don't have time to do anymore?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. I'm going to try to think of one too.
So this is obviously more of an event and not just an activity that the two of us did, just us, but crawfish boils.
Oh, that's a good one.
Growing up. Like we don't have time to really throw one anymore, but
that's such a good one.
My high school graduation party.
My high school graduation
party. Your high school graduation party. And generally just like our family, because we're Cajun.
Like once a year we'd have a big
and we haven't done one in a long time, but that was such a fun part of our childhood. That was so like every time we were having a crawfish boil, we knew it was going to be the best day ever.
It's too late for a 2024 one because the season's like, but 2025 we need to intentionally have a crawfish boil.
Whole team crawfish boil. It's happening.
Whole team crawfish boil is happening. Save the date.
Salty and spicy.
Yes. Oh my gosh, perfect. So yeah, that's a really good one. I was going to say, I guess I was immediately thinking like full family, what we all did together. And I think I was going to say it's going to church together as a family. It's just like with my touring and my job, Sunday is no longer like a rest day because oftentimes I have shows on Sunday or it's the travel day back from wherever our show was Saturday. And so sometimes we'll go to church on a different day of the week, but obviously we all live in different cities now, so it doesn't feel the same. But whenever we go back to Houston,
we haven't been to church as a family in a long time.
But we try to. But it's like so rare. Sundays when everyone flies back home because everyone has stuff Monday.
And it's like we only have 1 hour together today. We would like to just be able to have a slow morning and go to the airport.
We just like we would if there was more time.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've done it occasionally, but that's something that like I miss. I genuinely I have this fond memory of all of us like going and doing that, and then we would all go, eat lunch afterwards, and everyone was dressed cute, and it was just this beautiful Sunday morning thing, and I just miss it a lot.
We're also very lucky to have grown up in the same household our entire life. Mm-hmm. So we had one church that we went to our whole life. So when we go back to that church, it's really nostalgic. We'll usually do 2 questions, but since this is a long episode, we'll call it there. Thank you so much to everyone who's still listening. We appreciate y'all so much. And we can't wait to be back next week we'll definitely share about our Europe travels too.
Yes. Thank you. We love you. Go hustle in harmony. Thank y'all so much for listening to this episode of Hustle and Harmony.
Please leave us a 5-star review or comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on socials at Julia Cole Music and at Emily Cole.
We'll love you forever either way, and we can't wait to see y'all next week.
See y'all then.